So ALGO for the second time has extended beyond the 1.236 level at 30.9 cents. So here you can see that we ended up breaching past the local top at the time at 31 cents, where we ended up reaching this level here at 33.6 cents. And so yeah, this falls in line with what I talked about previously, where I mentioned I was tracking a 5-wave move to the upside, and we're currently within the third wave, and I'm looking at for the third wave to reach the 1.618 level at 38.49 cents. Of course, that would then trigger a 5-wave structure, and we could then potentially see higher highs. And so if I was to draw that in, what took place was we had the wave 1 that formed, and then the wave 2 formed, and then we're currently within the third wave, where I'm looking at for the third wave to reach this level here, which is a minimum requirement. And we see the wave 4 and 5 that will play out in the days and weeks to come. And this 5-wave structure will then form a wave 1 as part of a bigger 5-wave structure. So if I go on a daily chart, so here you can see that I have this 5-wave structure that I'm currently tracking at the moment. That will then complete this Y wave, which will tap into this region here between 1 to 1.226. And that region sits between $1.09 to $1.76. And yeah, like I said, this 5-wave structure will then form a wave 1. And then shortly after, we'll then see the wave 2 that will play out, given the fact that I am looking at for people to short the market and take profits, which would then lead to this move to the downside. And then we'll see a push to the upside to complete wave 3, and then a wave 4 and 5 that will play out to then complete this Y wave. Now, if we are ultra bullish, then what we need is for ALGO to reach the 1.618 level, and that will then trigger a 5-wave structure as opposed to this WXY structure. So if I go back to the 4-hour chart, now of course what you can see is we ended up seeing this correction move to the downside play out over the last couple of days. So if I go in the hourly chart instead and see what took place, of course we had this WXY structure that I was tracking also, and that played out where this Y wave ended up reaching this level here at 26.89 cents, and the W wave ended up forming over here at 27.25 cents. The X wave ended up reaching this level here at 29.2 cents, and then shortly after we then saw that push to the upside, which led to ALGO reaching this level here at 33.6 cents. So if I zoom out slightly, within this third wave, what we are forming is another 5-wave structure, where of course this 5-wave structure formed the wave 1, and then we had the wave 2 play out, and it looks like we are still within this third wave. And then we can see that 4th wave play out, followed by another 5th wave. And so it looks like within this move here, what we could see is another 5-wave structure within the third wave, where this is the wave 1, this is the wave 2, and it looks like this is the third wave. And then we have the corrective move to the downside that's playing out right now to form the 4th wave, followed by a final push to the upside to complete our 5th wave, which will then complete this third wave here. And then we'll see that retracement followed by a final push to the upside to then complete the third wave. And so assuming that we ended up forming the corrective move to the downside, which is the 4th wave, then the next key target would be the 1.236 to 1.618 retracement level. And that region sits between 34.98 cents to 37.4 cents. And essentially the third wave would then tap into this region here. And yeah, we said that wave 4 and 5 that will play out to complete this big wave 3. And so what I do is check to see if this corrective move is now formed, or if there's still a little bit more room to the downside. And so before I go on the 5-minute chart, what I'll do is I'll set the target for the wave 4, which will typically retrace anywhere between 23.6% to 50% of the wave 3. So if I just select this and zoom in slightly. So the local bottom for the wave 2 was at 17.14 cents. And then, of course, the third wave ended up reaching 33.6 cents. And so if I just remove some of this, since we no longer need it. And so yeah, here you can see that we ended up reaching the minimum requirement at 23.6%, but there is still a little bit more room to the downside, where we could potentially go as deep as 24 cents. But of course, given the fact that we have met the minimum requirement, it's possible that we see a reversal to the upside. But here you can actually see that we're trading below the 50 EMA, and there is potential for us to retest the 200 EMA, which during the time of recording sits at 27.09 cents. And so yeah, there is still a little bit more room to the downside for us to go, but I'm looking at for that reversal to the upside rather than tap into this region here and break this weak high that's been signaled on smart money concepts. Now, as far as the stochastic RSI goes, you can see that we are hovering over the oversold conditions. And so, again, there is still potential for the bears to continue to have that momentum and drive the price of ALGO towards the 200 DMA. But ultimately, I am looking out for that reversal to the upside, given the fact that we have the oversold conditions on the 4-hour chart, and the bulls could potentially regain control of the market. And so if I go down to the 5-minute chart and check to see what's actually taking place right now. And so here it looks like we had a corrective move that played out also. Bit of a double XY structure. And in fact, so this double XY structure, the Y wave would have reached this level here. So what I do is check to see if this Y wave met the typical requirements. And so, yeah, this Y wave would typically reach anywhere between 1 to 1.226 of the W wave, but it looks like we ended up falling short, where we ended up reaching 30.21 cents. But we did meet the minimum requirement, which is the 61.8% retracement level. And so the double XY structure is still valid. And so if I bring in the fib tool once again, and here we ended up reaching 30.93 cents and 30.92 cents. Okay, so the local top is at 33.93 cents. 30.93 cents, and yeah, so there is still a little bit more room to the downside, where we could see ALGO reach anywhere between the 1 to 1.236 level, and that region sits between 27.12 cents to 27.81 cents. So anywhere within this region here. And so yeah, there is still a little bit more room to the downside. So if I go back to the hourly chart, you can see that this region more or less coincides with the 200 DMA. And then shortly after, again, we'll be looking out for that pump to the upside to then complete this fifth wave, where that fifth wave will then tap into this region here. And so yeah, that's just my update on ALGO. Hopefully you found it useful, and if you did, then feel free to hit the like button, and if you're new, feel free to subscribe. Take it easy, people. Peace.